On August 14, 2026, the quiet suburban city of Mason, Ohio, turned into the absolute focal point of global tennis. The Lindner Family Tennis Center, sprawling, modernized, and humming with electric atmosphere, stood ready to host the Cincinnati Open. Positioned as the final premier WTA 1000 event before the U.S. Open, the tournament had always carried immense weight on the calendar. Champions had walked these grounds for decades, using the hard courts of Ohio to test their nerve before heading to Flushing Meadows. But in 2026, the buzzing energy inside the grounds was not merely about the draw, the court conditions, or the warm-up routines of the top seeds. It was about something unfolding behind closed doors, something completely unprecedented in the long and storied history of modern tennis. Deep within the administrative quarters and player lounges, news was circulating at a furious pace. Agents were frantically pulling out their phones, tournament handlers were exchanging knowing looks, and players sitting in the quiet corners of the locker rooms were asking the exact same question. Bob Moran, the president of BMOC Sports and Entertainment and the top executive overseeing the entire Cincinnati Open, had personally extended an exclusive VIP dinner invitation to a 21-year-old player before she had even bounced a ball on court for her first practice set. This was not a standard player party invitation. It was not a generic group greeting arranged for sponsors, nor was it a routine photo opportunity forced onto a player's schedule. It was an elite, highly restricted dinner hosted by the tournament president himself, gathering the sport's highest executives, major corporate backers, and influential tennis figures to celebrate a single athlete. The recipient of this extraordinary gesture was Alex Eala. To those outside the sport, the decision by a tournament president to roll out such treatment for a young player might have seemed baffling. After all, Eala had not yet captured a Grand Slam singles title. She had not spent years dominating the tour, nor did she hail from a traditional tennis powerhouse with decades of infrastructure backing her every move. Yet inside the sport, everyone knew why this was happening. The tennis establishment was coming face to face with an undeniable reality. Alex Eala was no longer just a rising prospect or a fan favorite. She had become an international phenomenon, a force capable of selling out grandstands in minutes, altering tournament schedules, and shifting the cultural footprint of women's tennis. To understand why the president of one of the world's most prestigious tournaments went out of his way to honor Eala, one has to trace the extraordinary path she took to reach this moment. Just a few months prior, Eala was grinding through the rankings outside the top 40, fighting for main draw acceptance and searching for consistency on the WTA Tour. Born and raised in Quezon City, Philippines, her journey had begun far from the pristine, billionaire-funded facilities of North America and Europe. She grew up playing on sun-baked, cracked concrete courts where heat bounced off the surface and resources were limited. Her early years were defined by sheer determination, guided by her family and fueled by a country that had never produced a top-tier global tennis superstar. While European prodigies grew up surrounded by elite academies and local role models who had already lifted trophies on Grand Slam stages, Eala had to carry the weight of being a pioneer. Every step forward was uncharted territory. Every victory was a historic first for her nation. By the time she moved to Majorca, Spain to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy as a teenager, the technical foundations of her game were locked in, but her connection to her roots remained unbroken. She played with a distinct style, combining aggressive baseline hitting, high-level court craft, and an unshakable emotional composure under pressure. By the summer of 2026, those years of silent work erupted into a season that redefined her career. Eala embarked on a run that stunned seasoned tennis analysts. In Washington, she put together an astonishing week of tennis, culminating in a final where she dismantled world number 3 Jessica Pegula to capture her very first WTA singles title. She followed that triumph by stepping onto the most famous court in the world at Wimbledon, where she delivered a masterclass performance against world number 1 Iga Swiatek on center court, shocking the tennis world and proving that her game belonged at the absolute pinnacle of the sport. Across the 2026 season, Eala compiled an extraordinary 7-2 record against top 10 opponents, proving time and again that when the lights were brightest, her focus only sharpened. Her rapid rise reflected in the rankings as well. Moving up to a career high of world number 20, she arrived in Cincinnati as the number 17 seed, marking the highest seeding of her young career at a WTA 1000 event. But while the numbers and results were impressive on paper, they only told half the story. The true phenomenon of Alex Eala was measured in human impact and raw economic power. In Toronto, just weeks before her arrival in Mason, tournament organizers experienced something they had never seen before. The moment Eala's opening match was scheduled, tickets vanished within hours. The demand was so massive and the influx of fans overwhelming that tournament director Carl Hale was forced to make an emergency scheduling adjustment, moving her match directly onto the main stadium court. Eala went on to play in front of a completely sold-out center court crowd 3 consecutive times. Hale later admitted to reporters that in all his decades in professional tennis, he had never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 create that level of instant, explosive public demand. The traveling phenomenon quickly earned a name across the tour, the Eala Effect. Wherever she traveled, thousands of fans from the Filipino diaspora, alongside tennis enthusiasts eager to witness a fresh star, filled the stands. Flags were draped over stadium railings, chants echoed through concourses, and venue merchandise shops struggled to keep up with demand. She had become the biggest ticket draw in women's tennis, driving thousands of single-session ticket sales on her own merit. When news broke that Eala was heading to Mason, Ohio, for her debut at the Cincinnati Open after missing the previous edition due to a shoulder injury, the excitement reached a fever pitch. Days before her opening match was even scheduled, sessions linked to her potential play dates were completely sold out. The Lindner Family Tennis Center was transformed into an ocean of anticipation, with fans booking flights from across North America just to secure a seat inside the venue. This was the environment into which Bob Moran stepped. Moran was not a casual fan easily swayed by short-term internet hype. As the president of BMOC Sports and Entertainment, he was one of the most powerful executives in professional sports. He oversaw a massive portfolio, managing a combined ATP Masters 1000 and WTA 1000 event that operated with a budget rivaling the Grand Slams. Moran had overseen the multi-million-dollar campus overhaul of the Cincinnati facility, transforming it into a world-class sports destination. Throughout his long career in tennis management, he had personally hosted legendary figures including Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Serena Williams, and Novak Djokovic. He understood the business of tennis better than almost anyone, and he knew how rare it was for a player to transcend the sport itself. Moran recognized that Eala was not simply another talented athlete coming through the draw. She represented a cultural shift. She brought an entirely new demographic to the sport, drawing in families, young fans, and global audiences who had previously felt distant from traditional tennis environments. From a business perspective, she was a promoter's dream, driving gate receipts, broadcast ratings, and social media engagement. From a sporting perspective, she represented the future of a global, diverse WTA tour. Moran saw all of this, and rather than waiting for Eala to win a major title before offering institutional recognition, he decided to break tradition. The personal invitation was dispatched discreetly through Eala's management team. The message conveyed that Moran wished to host Eala, her coach Joan Bosch, and her core team at an intimate VIP dinner prior to the start of her tournament campaign. The venue selected for the evening was the exclusive Cincinnati Open Sporting Club, a high-end dining establishment located within the grounds of the tennis complex, led by celebrated executive chef Andrew Allied. The atmosphere inside the private dining suite was meticulously prepared, reflecting the gravitas of the occasion. When Eala arrived on the evening of August 14th, dressed elegantly and maintaining her characteristic calm demeanor, she was personally greeted by Moran. The room was populated by key tournament directors, principal corporate sponsors, and selected figures from the upper echelons of tennis administration. As the evening progressed, Moran took the floor to offer a formal toast in Eala's honor. He spoke at length about her remarkable journey, praising not only her ball-striking and tactical intelligence on court, but her grace, humility, and extraordinary impact on global sport. He acknowledged the passionate crowds that followed her everywhere, emphasizing that her presence had elevated the energy of the entire tournament before a main draw ball had even been struck. In her response, Eala spoke with profound sincerity. She reflected on her path from Quezon City, paying tribute to the sacrifices of her family, the unwavering dedication of her team, and the incredible support of fans around the world. She noted that while individual honors off the court were deeply appreciated, her focus remained firmly anchored on the competition ahead. Those present in the room noted that despite the magnitude of the attention surrounding her, she remained grounded, respectful, and acutely aware of the challenge awaiting her on the courts.